There are 4 billion people on this planet. When I saw you in church, our love chemistry clicked on. And I just can't deny the fact that I've fallen hopelessly in love with you, Tulip.
Oh, don't you?
I know, please. I know it's brash and it's foolhardy. It makes no sense at all. I know that, Tulip. But it's real. I can't help myself.
Oh, no.
I have to be with you. I want to be with you and touch you and feel you, speak to you. Please don't go. Please don't go. We could meet.
That was Carol Burnett and Pat McCormick in a scene from A Wedding, the new Robert Altman comedy. It's just one of 5 new films we'll be looking at on sneak previews. 2 critics talking about, sometimes arguing about, the latest movies in town. And this is Rodger Ebert, the Pulitzer Prize-winning film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
Across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, movie critic for the Chicago Tribune and CBS TV News in Chicago. In addition to A Wedding, which is a film that Gene and I are in total disagreement about, we're going to be reviewing Woody Allen's first serious film, Interiors. And this is the first time that Allen has released a scene from Interiors to be shown on television. We'll also look at The Boys from Brazil, the new Nazi thriller starring Laurence Olivier and Gregory Peck, Somebody Killed Her Husband, which is Farrah Fawcett Major's feature film debut. And now Gene's going to start with Death on the Nile.
Well, Roger, you remember a surprise movie hit of a couple of years ago was Murder on the Orient Express, a stylish whodunit by Agatha Christie. Well, as we all know, one box office hit deserves a sequel, so now we have Christie's Death on the Nile, another glamorous mystery set mostly in Egypt. In Death on the Nile, Lois Childs plays an American heiress who has made an enemy of just about everybody in this movie. They all have a reason to kill her, and so it really isn't very smart for Lois Childs to be walking around an ancient temple in Egypt with her new husband. After all, somebody could try to drop a boulder on her noggin.
You were right. Lynette, you were right. Come on. Easy. That's it. Come on, let me come. All right. That's down. That's the forearm was pushed.
To kill me?
Jackie!
But she's not here.
So there you have it, your typical Agatha Christie honeymoon. Everybody's favorite moment, of course, in a picture like this is when the detective in charge, in this case Christie's famous Belgian sleuth Hercule Poirot, requests that all the possible suspects assemble in 30 minutes in the living room, the kitchen, the library, the dining room, whatever. In Death on the Nile, it's in a ship's drawing room. And of course, the killer is in the room as Peter Ustinov, playing the detective, runs through every suspect's possible motive.
Madame, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, the game is over. I, Hercule Poirot, now know beyond a shadow of a doubt who killed Madame Doyle, Louise Bourget, and Madame Otterborn. Foolishly, I began this investigation with a preconceived idea that there must have been a witness to the shooting scene between Mademoiselle Jackie and Simon Doyle. That this person must have taken the gun from here after everyone had left the saloon and must have used it to kill Madame Doyle and to attempt to frame Mademoiselle Jackie. You see, mes amis, it is not as though there were any lack of suspects among you. She might have been killed by someone trying to shut her defamatory mouth, or by someone whose father had been ruined by Madame Doyle's father, or by someone obsessed with the idea of robbery, or by someone who bitterly resented anyone inheriting that amount of money, or by someone who was desperately trying to save her mother from financial ruin, or yet by someone anxious to escape exposure as a fraudulent trustee, or by someone who simply mistook the identity of the victim.
Ah, yes, the gathering of the suspects. We've seen that scene 1,000 times. It always works. And a picture like this is really very easy to review. It all comes down to whether at the end of the movie you're involved enough in the picture to actually guess and care who done it. I was, and I think you were too.
Yeah, you should know. We saw it at the same screening
Right.
together, and about an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, you came creeping down to my aisle, and you said, do you know who did it? And I said, yeah, and I mentioned a name, which I won't repeat now. You said you agreed we both knew who the guilty person was, and we were both wrong.
Yeah, real experts. This is one of the pictures with a lot of big actors in it, where I thought the acting was pretty good, particularly Peter Ustinov as the detective.
I agree. It's a classy comedy. And now we go to a movie that is supposed to answer the question, can Farrah Fawcett Majors really act? And you all remember Farrah Fawcett Majors, the Charlie's Angels with the great teeth. She became a superstar on TV and in the poster shops, and now she's made her first movie. It's a thriller called Somebody Killed Her Husband, and I hope you won't think I'm giving away too much of the plot if I reveal that somebody does kill her husband. Right. It happens while she's upstairs with a new guy she's just fallen in love with, played by Jeff Bridges.
We have, spectators.
Should we take a bow?
Oh, let's just wave with casual abandon.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, that's 6.
6 what?
People who know about us are guests, not counting strangers.
Now, if they each tell 2 of their friends, it will make... It's Preston.
7.
I hope we can manage tonight. The freezer was just delivered this morning, but I think we've got something.
Do you really want to divorce him and marry me?
Yes.
I'm here to talk to you.
Well, then we might as well go down there and tell him. When the other guy leaves...
No, I can do it after you leave. I mean, I've wanted to do it before. I just never could. I can do it now.
Why should you do it alone? We're together. This is going to be awkward as hell, but we're going to manage it.
Well, look at it this way, Gene. At least from here on in, it won't be adultery. Anyway, they're in a pretty tight spot because a lot of people are going to suspect them of the murder, so they decide to find the killer themselves. But then the movie evaporates into an investigation that's silly and slow-paced and all too obvious. And as for the question of whether or not Farrah Fawcett Majors can act, let's put it this way. She can scream, and she can cry, and she can gasp, and she can moan, and she looks great, but the movie doesn't give her a chance to do much else.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the reason why this picture's so deadly dull is that they stop the relationship between Jeff Bridges and Farrah Fawcett Majors and just go and follow this mystery, which is really obvious and slow-paced and not very exciting.
For example, compared to the earlier picture we looked at, Death on the Nile, I think in this one you do figure out who did it, and so it takes away a lot of the suspense.
Our next picture is completely different. It's Woody Allen's latest film. It's called Interiors. He directed it, but he doesn't star in it. And it's not a comedy. It's dead serious from start to finish. Interiors is about a rich, WASP American family in a great deal of pain. The mother, Geraldine Page, is cracking up after years of stifling her emotions and trying to be a perfect person. The father, E.G. Marshall, has had it with his wife. He wants some fun in his life. He wants a separation. And he announces that decision at the dinner table in front of his wife and 2 of their 3 daughters, played by Diane Keaton and Mary Beth Hurt. It's a good scene. Watch how much it resembles a banker holding a board meeting.
I've done a lot of thinking about this matter and a great deal of soul searching. Now that the girls are all on their own, I feel that for my own self, I must come to this decision, though I don't take it lightly. I feel I've been a dedicated husband and a responsible father, and I haven't regretted anything I've been called upon to do. Now, I feel I want to be by myself for a while. So consequently, I've decided to move out of the house. Now, I don't know how I'll feel about it when I finally do it, and it's not irrevocable, but I feel it's something I have to try. As I say, it's not an irrevocable situation. It's a separation. Maybe for the best. It may not. And I wanted to lay it on the table in front of everyone so that everything is open and as direct as possible.
Will you please not breathe so hard? I'll move out.
What does that mean?
I don't want to live in this house anymore.
Eve, think about it.
Move out!
Look, it's not irrevocable. It's a trial separation.
I can't be alone.
Eve.
I don't want to discuss the details just now. Oh, it's a very bad time for me.
That's pretty powerful stuff, and it sure is a long way from Alan's last picture, the comedy Annie Hall. But almost from start to finish, this picture, Interiors, is an unending portrait of pain. And after a while, I wanted to scream, "Let me out of here." There's just so much unremitting pain. But then the one mentally healthy character pops into the picture. It's the father's new woman friend, played by Maureen Stapleton, and she brings a little bit of life to the family, a little bit of counterpoint to all the pain. And suddenly then, Interiors turns out to be a fairly memorable movie. So as much as I suffered through the first half of Interiors, Rodger, I don't think I'm ever going to forget any of its characters.
Well, I didn't suffer through the first half, and I find it a lot more than fairly memorable. I think it's one of the best American movies of the year. And I think it's a real example of chance-taking on the part of Woody Allen, who, after Annie Hall and his other successes, can make a comedy a year and make money with it. This time, he took a family, he realized them fully on the screen, he saw their pain, he stayed with it. You're disappointed that the picture's too painful. If you don't want pain, don't go to it, but don't ask Allen, I think, to fall back from the statement he's trying to make.
But I don't like the construction of it in this way. We see a bunch of characters, maybe 7 or 8 of them in this family and all their attending relationships, and one after another they trot on and tell us how miserable they are. All I'm saying is stick in somebody a little bit less than miserable earlier on.
Well, one after another they are miserable, and I think one thing Allen does do is play fair with us. By the time the movie's over, we know why. We know something about these people.
I'll agree with you on one thing. I think that he has a fabulous ear for dialogue, and we could see it in that last scene when Geraldine Page says, "It's a very bad time for me." I think we all know that there are moments when we get so nervous that we can't even talk about ourselves except in third person. We're getting so built up, and she's a very bad time for me. I'm narrating my pain, and very good ear for dialogue.
We're together there, and another director with a good ear for dialogue is Robert Altman. His new comedy, A Wedding, is filled with surprises, and one of them is how much mileage he can get out of such a familiar American ritual as a society wedding. His cast is filled. It has 48 characters. They're all gathered together for one of the strangest weddings we'll ever see, and the wedding day is filled with some of the most amazing discoveries about both of the families involved. Things begin to fall apart early at the church. Desi Arnaz Jr. and Amy Stryker take each other for better and very definitely for worse.
Into this holy estate, these 2 persons present come now to be joined. If any man can show just cause why they may not lawfully be joined together, let him now speak, or else hereafter forever hold his peace. Dino, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife? to live together after God's ordinance in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor her, and keep her in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Muffin, wilt thou have this man to be thy wedded husband, to live together after God's ordinance in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love him, comfort him, honor him, and keep him in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, keep thee only unto him, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
The bride wears braces, and that's one of the smallest surprises in this movie. The wedding day completely disintegrates after everybody goes back to the enormous mansion owned by the groom's family, and believe it or not, only one guest comes to the enormous party that they throw, but the family members have no trouble at all entertaining each other because Altman comes up with a hysterical wedding counselor, a dead grandmother, a pregnant bridesmaid, a gay best man, a drunken family doctor, scandalous wedding presents, and a heroin habit for the mother of the groom. Meanwhile, a sudden romance blossoms between Carol Burnett as the mother of the bride and Pat McCormick as a wedding guest who falls head over heels in love with his little tulip. And during a tornado alert, they have a secret rendezvous in the upstairs bathroom.
Lord, that seems like it's going to be quite a...
Can you believe it? I missed you already.
Kenzie. You shouldn't be in the ladies' room.
Tulip, my dearest.
Kenzie. Kenzie, we're just being so foolhardy.
We must go on meeting the rest of our lives.
Just a minute! Oh, Mrs. Brenner, I'm sorry. This is an emergency. Everyone must go down to the cellar immediately. We have an impending tornado. Now,
Yes.
just check this room.
No, someone's in there. You can't go in there.
But I must. You understand?
No, that you can't. They're sick. Yeah.
Would you please hurry up? Come on, hurry up. Hurry up. This is an emergency, and everyone must go down to the cellar, and I have to use these facilities.
Could you help me, Miss Billingsley? I seem to have lost my earring someplace, and I can't find it anywhere.
Mrs. Brenner, why don't you just go down to the cellar and wait?
And I will
my
wait
earring.
My husband would kill me if
Well,
I
I'm
went
sure we'll find it. We can always find another earring, Mrs.
Not
Brenner.
like this. Wait a minute. Is that it under your foot? Let me just... No.
Oh,
Where?
Did you hear that? What noise?
What's thunder? Did you lose an earring, too? No. Then how come you got your hand over your ear?
Ladies, there's a tornado. I urge you to follow me to safety in the cellar.
Will you please look after that person?
I love the way he turns up to the rescue. Altman's movie is cheerfully chaotic and confusing, and I think it was meant to be. That's one of the reasons I liked it so much. His 48 characters are bursting with secrets and intrigues and guilts and weaknesses, passions, rivalries, and Altman presides. He lets all the family skeletons out of their deep and dark closets.
Well, now we have our first serious disagreement, because I don't think that this picture has a darn thing to say about social customs in America. I think that the biggest problem with this picture and why I didn't like it and didn't laugh at it is I think that Altman just sets up a whole bunch of straw men and women, characters, silly people holding their ears, and priests who can't remember things. And so when you attack characters that aren't real and you make fun of people, I don't think it's funny.
I think what you're asking for is social commentary. I think this movie is a comedy. There are serious parts in it. I think it's very interesting at the end where he gives you a surprise that turns it back upon itself and makes you think about the material. But oftentimes in comedy you have straw characters. Some of the characters in this movie are real. Some of them are stereotypes. Some of them are unbelievable. They all live together in the same house.
I don't think so. I think that we are given one foolish person after another. We see who is not foolish in this film?
Carol Burnett.
Oh, she's running around. She's so flustered by all of this silly stuff.
Nina von Pallant as the wife.
She's
very serious. She's given 30 years of her life to this family. She doesn't know why.
That's one serious character out of 48.
I could mention Vittoria Gassman. I could go on.
He's made to be a buffoon and drop his pants.
I defend this picture. If that's what he does, then in that case, it still works.
Do you think this ranks with Altman's other pictures like MASH and McCabe and Mrs. Miller?
It's not as good as MASH. It's not as good as McCabe as Mrs. Miller. It's better than some of his pictures. I liked it. I would recommend it. I think if people go to see it, they won't regret that decision.
Okay. Well, our next movie, The Boys from Brazil, stars Laurence Olivier and Gregory Peck in a film about Nazi criminals in hiding. Early on in the picture, Olivier, playing a famous Nazi hunter, gets a phone call at his Vienna home from a young man who has managed to tape record a murder plot conversation in Paraguay involving a whole bunch of Nazi criminals. So, as Olivier answers the phone, the kid has to hurry because the Nazis know about his tape recording and they're coming after him.
Oh! Paula! I thought I told you to leave.
Well, I didn't, Mr. Lieberman, but I think you're going to be glad I didn't. Dr. Joseph Mengele was here tonight.
You mean to tell me you call me at 3 o'clock in the morning to tell me Dr. Joseph Mengele is in Paraguay? I know that, Mr. Kohler. So does my sister. So does my landlord and my tailor. And now you know it too. My congratulations.
He came to a meeting at Gunther's house tonight. And the others were there too. Mengele's sending them out to kill 94 65-year-old men in the next 2.5 years.
What are you talking about? 94 at 65? 2.5 years? I can hear you, Mr. Kohler. I just can't follow what you're saying.
Okay, I'm running it down now. It'll only take a second.
Take your time. Old men don't go back to sleep once they have been awakened.
Welcome, young man.
The stuff on now, it's just a lot of introducing and glad-handing around. Mengele's acting like chairman of the board. Will you stop asking questions and just listen, Mr. Lieberman?
Business. Sit down, gentlemen.
Okay, here it comes.
The task before you is the most this organization has ever undertaken.
Hola!
That kid looks like he walked in just from the Hardy Boys. Anyway, Olivier knows there is a plot to kill 94 men aged 65 all over the world. We don't know why, though, until the end of the movie. Yeah, it's something, though, to do with resurrecting the Nazi movement. The plot is Gregory Peck's idea, the guy in the white suit. Peck plays the famous Nazi scientist Dr. Joseph Mengele, the mad doctor of the Auschwitz concentration camp. So Peck orders his Nazi henchmen to kill those 65-year-old men, and then he celebrates the first few murders at a Nazi party. But the happy mood doesn't last very long.
Good evening, how are you? I present to you my wife, Gertrude, and our Herr Dr. Mengele.
Oh, it's just an honor meeting you.
We are here on a little second honeymoon. Supposed to be a Christian. Start getting ready to kill Oscarson. Traitor! He betrayed me. He betrayed you. He betrayed the Aryan race.
Get a doctor.
I am a doctor, idiot.
All I can say is, good grief. This film is an embarrassment of overacting. The last reel of the picture is absurd. We get the obligatory nice Nazi. We get the heroic Jew who won't kill even in the face of being killed. And we get some real ham-bone acting by Greg Peck and even Lord Olivier. The more I think about it, the more I dislike The Boys from Brazil.
Gene, I'm with you 100%. I was just thinking, you know, for years Hollywood has said Nazis make great villains. After this picture, I think it's so long, Nazis, hello, Mongol hordes.
Oh, well, the arrival of this cute little canine means it's time for Dog of the Week, the regular feature on this show where each of us picks the week's worst movies.
That's right, Gene, and my dog this week is a fish called Piranha. And how do you like this for an example of brilliant thinking? See, the government has this secret project to create a new breed of piranha fish that can live in salt or fresh water, can reproduce 3 times as fast as before, and can be a secret military weapon in the Cold War. But the fish are accidentally released into a river, and they start attacking innocent swimmers and families on vacation with their tiny little low-budget jaws. Well, my favorite scene is when a victim is in the water, being eaten alive by millions of piranha, and Kevin McCarthy comes to the rescue. Now, how does he come to the rescue? By diving into the water, naturally, and swimming toward the piranha. That's really great thinking, right? Next, they'll probably make a rip-off of the Towering Inferno, in which one guy jumps off the building and another guy jumps off to catch him.
Roger, my Wolfhound of the Week is a totally unfunny movie called Up in Smoke, featuring the hippie comedy team of Cheech and Chong playing a couple of dope fiends trying to buy some marijuana and having a tough time finding the grass. Up in Smoke is being advertised with the slogan, "Don't go straight to this movie." The implication being, get half bagged on marijuana first. Well, any film that asks you to get smashed before you go see it must have something really bad to hide. And in Up in Smoke, it's the dialogue, which is 80 minutes of 2 jerks saying nothing but, "Hey, man."
Hey, man, how far you going, man?
Oh, right here it'd be fine, man.
Oh, man, you ain't not scared of a little speed, are you, man?
Oh, you got some speed, man?
You know, a lot of reactionary types have been saying for years they'd like to punch out a hippie. This may be the first picture to give them a legitimate excuse.
You said it, man. Anyway, so much for the dogs. Now let's take another look at some of the major movies on this show. We think Death on the Nile is a stylish and witty adaptation of the Agatha Christie whodunit. Both Gene and I like it, and that's why it says yes next to both of our names. We recommend you see this movie. Neither one of us thinks much of Farrah Fawcett Major's movie debut and the dreary murder mystery Somebody Killed Her Husband, and so we both say no to that one. We don't recommend it. We both admire Woody Allen's intense psychological drama Interiors. Gene has reservations about the first half of the picture, but I think it's one of the best films of the year. But we both say no to The Boys from Brazil, the ridiculous Nazi thriller starring Gregory Peck and Laurence Olivier. And we disagree about Robert Altman's A Wedding. I love the social satire. Gene thinks it's silly and gives it a resounding no.
That's it for this show. Next on Sneak Previews, we'll be showing you scenes from the comic murder mystery Who is Killing the Great Chefs of Europe, starring George Siskel, Jacqueline Bisset, and Robert Morley. Jack Nicholson as a Western outlaw in Goin' South. And The Wiz, the black musical version of The Wizard of Oz, starring Diana Ross as Dorothy. Until then, see you at the movies.
Funding for this program is provided by this station and by other public television stations.